The great meeting hall on Nexus Prime Station buzzed with quiet conversations. Dozens of alien beings filled the curved seats that surrounded the central speaking area. Some had scales that caught the light, others had fur or skin that changed colors. A few floated in special chairs filled with strange gases they needed to breathe. Ambassador Jake Morrison walked into the hall with his small team. Colonel Lisa Barnes stayed close to his left side, her military uniform neat and pressed. Dr. Kevin Walsh carried a datapad filled with reports about human discoveries and inventions. All three humans looked calm, but Jake felt worried about today's meeting. The Galactic Council met every 3 months to discuss problems between the different alien species. Humans had joined the Council 5 years ago after making contact with the galaxy's other intelligent races. At first, the aliens seemed happy to welcome Earth's people. They praised human medicine, farming techniques, and peaceful nature. But things had changed over the past year. More and more aliens seemed to think humans were dangerous. They whispered about human emotions and called them unpredictable. Some alien leaders complained that humans asked too many questions and wanted to change old traditions. Jake took his seat in the section marked for human representatives. The chair felt uncomfortable, designed for alien bodies rather than human ones. Most things in the galaxy worked that way. Humans had to adapt to alien ways, not the other way around. Council leader Vextar called the meeting to order. The tall alien had blue skin and 4 arms. 2 large eyes sat on the sides of his head, letting him see in almost all directions. His voice boomed through the hall's speakers. "We have important business today," Vextar announced. "The council must vote on Resolution 2847X. Jake's stomach dropped. He had heard rumors about this resolution but hoped they were false. Dr. Walsh leaned over and whispered, "The intelligence reports were correct. They're really going to do this." Vextar continued speaking. "This resolution addresses the human problem. Recent events have shown that humans cannot be trusted with full council membership. They are too aggressive and emotional to make good decisions for the galaxy." High Speaker Grulmoth of the Korthik Empire stood up. The massive alien looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. His thick voice rumbled through the hall. "Humans have shown their true nature. When the raider clans attacked our mining stations, humans fought back with terrible violence. They destroyed entire raider fleets without mercy." Jake wanted to laugh, but he kept his face calm. The humans had saved Korthak lives and protected their property. Now the Korthaks called that violence and aggression. Thoughtweaver Zin of the Villani Collective spoke next. The pale alien's large head pulsed with soft light as she used her mental powers to project her thoughts. Human emotions cloud their judgment. They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. This makes them unfit to help govern the galaxy. Other aliens nodded in agreement. The Healer Caste representative mentioned human stubbornness. The Mercantile Guild speaker complained about human trading practices being too competitive. One by one, the alien species listed their complaints against humanity. Jake listened to every word. These same aliens had begged for human help countless times. When the plague hit 6 different worlds, human doctors worked day and night to find a cure. When famines threatened to kill millions, human farmers shared their knowledge freely. When raider attacks increased, human soldiers died protecting alien colonies. None of the aliens mentioned these sacrifices. They only talked about human faults and dangers. The resolution was read aloud. It would strip humans of voting rights in the council. Human colonies would become protectorates, meaning they could not make their own decisions. Humans would have to ask permission before expanding to new worlds or building new ships. The galaxy's other species would watch over humanity like adults watching dangerous children. "The vote will now begin," Vextar announced. "All in favor of Resolution 2847X? 11 alien hands, claws, and tentacles rose into the air. Only the human representative voted against the resolution. "The resolution passes," Vextar declared. "Humans are now under the protection and guidance of the Galactic Council. This will help them become better members of our galactic community." Jake stood up slowly. The hall fell silent as all eyes turned to him. Some aliens looked smug and satisfied. Others seemed uncomfortable but said nothing. A few appeared genuinely sorry for what had happened. Ambassador Morrison, Vextar said with fake politeness. Do you have something to say about the Council's wise decision? Jake looked around the room one last time. He thought about all the times humans had helped these species. He remembered the human soldiers who died protecting alien worlds. He thought about the doctors who gave their lives to cure alien diseases. He remembered the farmers who shared their knowledge even when it hurt human profits. Yes, Jake said quietly. I do have something to say. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a formal document. The hall stayed completely silent as he unfolded the paper. The United Earth Alliance formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately, Jake announced. His voice was calm, but carried clearly through the hall. We will honor our existing trade agreements for 60 days to allow for a smooth transition. After that, Earth and all human colonies will handle their own affairs. The aliens began talking all at once. Some sounded shocked, others angry. Vextar's forearms waved as he tried to restore order. You cannot survive without the Council's protection, Vextar said loudly. You need our trade networks. You need our technology. You will come back within a year, begging us to take you back. Jake closed his briefcase with a sharp click. Perhaps, he said. But somehow I doubt that. He turned and walked toward the exit. Colonel Barnes and Dr. Walsh followed behind him. The aliens kept shouting questions and threats, but the three humans did not look back. As they reached the door, Jake stopped and turned around one final time. The hall had fallen silent again, waiting to hear his last words as a council member. You forgot something important, Jake said. We never needed you. You needed us. Then the humans walked out, leaving the Galactic Council to face the consequences of their decision. News of the human withdrawal spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every species had their own communication networks, and the shocking announcement traveled through all of them within hours. By the time Jake Morrison's ship reached Earth, the entire human government already knew what had happened. President Amy Carter sat in the emergency meeting room deep under the White House. Around the long table sat the most important leaders of Earth and its colonies. The room's walls showed live feeds from human settlements scattered across dozens of worlds. The council made their choice, President Carter said firmly. Now we make ours. All in favor of supporting Ambassador Morrison's withdrawal? Every hand in the room went up. Every colony leader on the wall screens raised their hands too. The vote was unanimous. Admiral Ryan Tucker stood up and activated a large holographic display. It showed the positions of every human ship, station, and colony in the galaxy. We've been preparing for this possibility for 2 years, he explained. Operation Exodus is ready to begin immediately. The plan was simple but massive. Every human working on joint projects with alien species would come home. Every human ship in alien space would return to human territory. Every human base on alien worlds would be abandoned. Humanity would cut all ties with the Galactic Council. On the colony, world of New Texas, Governor Pete Williams read the news to a crowd of 10,000 settlers. Earth has withdrawn from the council, he announced. We stand with our home world. New Texas supports this decision completely. The crowd cheered and applauded. Many colonists had family members who served in human military units. They had seen how the aliens treated human soldiers as expendable cannon fodder. They were tired of being looked down upon by species who couldn't survive without human help. Governor Linda Hayes of Harvest World felt more worried. Her planet supplied food to 12 different alien colonies. What happens to our trade agreements? She asked during an emergency video call with Earth. These aliens depend on our crops to survive. That's their problem now, replied Secretary of Commerce Bill Murphy. The council decided we were too dangerous to be equals. We're simply respecting their decision by keeping our dangerous selves away from them. Captain Tom Bradley commanded the mining operation on Kepler 442b, a world rich in rare metals needed for advanced technology. When he heard the news, he gathered his workers in the main facility. The aliens think we're too aggressive, he told them with a grin. Maybe it's time we showed them what human aggression really looks like. We're expanding operations immediately. No more council restrictions on how much we can mine or where we can dig. The workers cheered. For years, alien bureaucrats had limited human mining to protect environmental balance. The humans had followed these rules while watching alien mining companies destroy entire planets with crude techniques. Back on Nexus Prime, the council members slowly realized what they had done. Trade coordinator Zek Hai of the Mercantile Guild ran the numbers on his advanced computers. The results made his tentacles turn pale with shock. Council leader Vexitar, he said in a shaking voice, human trade represents 23% of all galactic commerce. If they stop trading with us, our economy will collapse. Vexitar waved a dismissive hand with two of his forearms. Impossible. We survived for thousands of years before humans joined us. We can survive without them again. But Healer Prime Yilsen of the Mendi species brought worse news. 40% of our medical supplies come from human companies, she reported. Our bioregeneration facilities cannot function without human-manufactured synthetic compounds. If the supply stops, millions of our people will die. The first real problem came just 6 hours after the withdrawal announcement. The Deep Space Monitoring Array, which watched for dangerous asteroids and enemy fleets, went completely dark. The system used human-designed quantum processors that only human technicians understood. Engineer Chief Toxhan tried to restart the array using Zephyrian technology. After 4 hours of failed attempts, he had to admit defeat. The human engineering is too advanced, he reported. We cannot replicate their quantum communication relays. The Galactic Communications Network failed next. Alien species across the galaxy suddenly could not talk to each other. The network relied on human-built amplifier stations scattered throughout space. Without human technicians to maintain them, the entire system shut down. Dr. Walsh and his team had designed most of the galaxy's advanced technology over the past 5 years. The aliens had been happy to use human inventions, but they had never bothered to learn how the technology actually worked. They assumed their own scientists could figure it out if needed. They were wrong. Admiral Sandra Clark commanded the human fleet responsible for protecting trade routes from raiders and pirates. When Operation Exodus began, she ordered all human ships to return to human space immediately. But what about our patrol duties? Asked Captain Joe Parker of the USS Liberty. His ship was supposed to protect a convoy carrying Korthak refugees from a raider-attacked world. The Council has relieved us of all duties, Admiral Clark replied. We are no longer responsible for alien safety. Let them protect themselves. The USS Liberty changed course and headed for human space. Behind them, the Korthak convoy continued toward safety with no protection. 3 hours later, raider ships attacked the defenseless transports. Half the refugee ships were destroyed before the rest could escape. High Speaker Grulmoth received the casualty reports in his command center. 2,000 Korthak civilians had died in the attack. Where were the human patrol ships, he demanded. They withdrew, sir, his aide replied quietly. All human ships have left our territory. For the first time, Grulmoth began to understand what the Council had done. The humans had not been partners in the galactic community. They had been the foundation that held everything together. The raider clans sensed the change immediately. These pirates and criminals had stayed hidden in the dark spaces between stars, afraid of human military power. But now the humans were gone. The galaxy lay open before them like a feast. Raider Commander Vakshan gathered his fleet of stolen ships. The humans have abandoned their alien friends, he announced to his captains. The Council worlds are defenseless. We attack at dawn. Meanwhile, in human space, the withdrawal was going smoothly. Human colonies reported increased production and expanded settlements. Without Council restrictions, they could build new cities, start new industries, and explore new worlds freely. The frontier mining operation on Kepler 442b discovered the largest deposit of quantum crystals ever found. Under Council rules, they would have had to share this discovery with alien species. Now the crystals would help humanity build even more advanced technology. Funny how lucky we get when we're not being held back, Captain Bradley remarked to his mining crew. Back on Nexus Prime, Council leader Vexitar tried to maintain confidence. The humans will realize their mistake soon. he told the other council members. They cannot survive alone. They need our wisdom and protection. But Trade Coordinator Zekhai brought more bad news. Sir, 17 major shipping companies have gone bankrupt in the last 12 hours. Without human cargo vessels, we cannot move goods between worlds. The economy is collapsing faster than our computers can calculate. The Villani Collective tried to use their mental powers to force human cooperation. 3 Villani mine ships approached the human colony of New Angeles, intending to compel the colonists to return to council authority. Governor Rick Mason watched the alien ships approach on his tactical display. Activate the psionic shields, he ordered calmly. The human-designed mental defenses came online just as the Villani attempted their psychic attack. The shields not only blocked the mental assault, but reflected it back at the attackers. All 3 Villani ships went silent as their crews fell unconscious. Send a message to the Villani Collective, Governor Mason instructed his communications officer. Tell them that human colonies are protected by technology specifically designed to counter their abilities. Any future attacks will be considered acts of war. The message was received across the galaxy. Every alien species realized that humanity had been preparing for this moment for years. The humans had quietly developed countermeasures for every council species while pretending to be loyal partners. As the first day of withdrawal ended, the galaxy was already falling apart. Trade networks collapsed, communication systems failed, and raider attacks increased. The Galactic Council had ruled for 1,000 years, but it had depended entirely on human support to function. Now the humans were gone, and the aliens were learning a hard lesson about the difference between ruling and leading. 3 weeks had passed since the humans walked out of the Galactic Council. The galaxy was falling apart faster than anyone had imagined possible. What started as small problems had grown into disasters that threatened entire civilizations. The Raider clan struck first at the Korthak mining colonies near the Outer Rim. Without human patrol ships protecting the trade routes, the Raiders moved freely through space. Their stolen warships appeared without warning and destroyed 3 mining stations before the Korthak defense forces could respond. High Speaker Duncath, who had replaced the assassinated Grulmoth, watched the attack reports with growing horror. "How many dead?" he asked his military advisor. 15,000 civilians, sir," came the grim reply. "The Raiders took everything valuable and destroyed the rest. Our defense fleet arrived 6 hours too late." The Korthak Empire had always been proud of their military strength, but their forces were designed to work alongside human tactical support and advanced warning systems. Without human technology, the Korthak fleet was slow and clumsy. The Raiders knew this. They had spent years studying human military tactics while hiding in the dark spaces between stars. Now they used that knowledge against the aliens who had depended on human protection. Captain Emma Rodriguez commanded the human cruiser USS Defiant, patrolling near the border of human space. Her communications officer looked up from his station, with a troubled expression. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal from Nexus Prime Station. They're under attack and requesting immediate assistance." Emma stared at the tactical display. Nexus Prime was the backup government center after the main council building had been moved there following several Raider threats. Thousands of civilians lived and worked on the station. "What are our orders regarding council space?" she asked her first officer. "No human vessel is to enter council territory or provide assistance to council forces," he replied. "We are to protect human interests only." Emma felt sick to her stomach. She had served alongside alien officers for years. Some of them had become close friends. But orders were orders, and humanity had tried friendship once already. "Send a reply to Nexus Prime," she instructed. "Tell them that human forces are no longer responsible for council security. We wish them luck." The USS Defiant continued its patrol along the human border while Nexus Prime burned. The station's destruction was broadcast across the galaxy as a symbol of how completely things had changed. The seat of galactic government had fallen, and humanity had watched it happen without lifting a finger. The economic collapse came next. Without human shipping companies to move goods between worlds, trade between alien species ground to a halt. The Mercantile Guild tried to use their own vessels, but they had relied on human-built navigation systems for decades. Guildmaster Toxan stood in his office on the trade world of Commerce Prime, watching as his empire crumbled. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Alien ships were getting lost in hyperspace without human navigation computers. Others broke down in deep space when their human-maintained engines failed. "Can we reverse engineer the human technology?" he asked his chief engineer. The alien shook his head sadly. "The humans were always 10 years ahead of us in engineering. We used their inventions but never understood how they worked. It would take us decades to catch up if we ever could." Alex Johnson, CEO of Terran Logistics, received hundreds of desperate messages from alien companies begging him to resume shipping services. The offers grew more generous each day, but his response never changed. The Galactic Council determined that human business practices were too aggressive and competitive. He replied to each request, "We are simply respecting their judgment by keeping our aggressive business away from Council space." The medical crisis hit the Mendi species hardest. Their healing centers had revolutionized galactic medicine by combining Mendi biological knowledge with human synthetic chemistry. But the bioregeneration pods could not function without human-manufactured compounds. Healer Prime Yilson watched helplessly as patients died in facilities that should have saved them. The healing pods that had once restored lost limbs and cured incurable diseases now sat empty and useless. "How long will our remaining medical supplies last?" she asked her assistant. "Perhaps 2 weeks, if we ration them carefully," came the reply. "After that, we will have to return to primitive healing methods that our people have not used for centuries." Dr. Sarah Martinez, head of the Terran Medical Corps, received a personal message from Yilsen offering to share the Mendi's most closely guarded medical secrets in exchange for resuming chemical supplies. Sarah's response was professional but cold. The Council determined that human medical contributions were merely minimum expected participation. The Terran Medical Corps recommends that the Mendi seek treatment from species that consider them equals. The Villani Collective faced their own crisis when their attempt to mentally control human colonies backfired. The psionic feedback from human shields had left dozens of their mind weavers in comas. Worse, their homeworld's ecosystem was beginning to collapse. The Villani had used their mental powers to maintain the delicate balance of their planet's environment for thousands of years. But the psychic backlash from the failed attack on New Angeles had damaged their collective consciousness. Without their mental coordination, the planet's weather systems began to fail. Thought Weaver Zin, who had once declared humans unfit for governance, now faced the extinction of her entire species. She sent desperate messages to every human leader she could contact, but the responses were all the same. The Villani Collective believed human emotions made us unfit for rational decision-making. President Carter replied, "We suggest you make rational decisions about your own survival without our emotional interference." The Zephyrian Empire tried to maintain order using their technological superiority, but they quickly discovered that human engineering had been supporting their systems for years. Their quantum communication networks, orbital defense platforms, and starship engines all contained human-designed components. Admiral Kextool, the proud commander of the Zephyrian fleet, watched as half his ships broke down during what should have been a simple patrol mission. The human-built fusion reactors that powered his vessels were failing without proper maintenance, and Zephyrian engineers could not repair them. "How did we become so dependent on human technology?" he asked his science advisor. "We were not paying attention, sir," the advisor replied. "The humans shared their inventions freely, and we assumed our own technology was superior. We never noticed that we had stopped innovating and started copying." The frontier world suffered the worst attacks as raider fleets grew bolder. Without human military protection, alien colonies on the edge of civilized space were defenseless. The raiders destroyed some worlds completely and enslaved the populations of others. Captain Tom Bradley watched the destruction from the human mining world of Kepler 442b. His sensors detected raider fleets moving through nearby systems, but they carefully avoided human territory. The raiders had learned to fear human military power and knew better than to provoke humanity directly. "Should we warn the alien colonies about incoming attacks?" asked his security chief. "The Council found us too aggressive to participate in galactic governance," Bradley replied. "They can handle their own security problems." The breaking point came when the Raider fleets reached the core worlds of several major species. The Zephyrian homeworld's orbital defenses, dependent on human targeting systems, failed within hours of the first attack. The planet's cities burned as its government fled to underground bunkers. The Korthak capital world fell next, followed by the Mendi healing centers and the Villani collective consciousness nodes. In less than a month, the Raiders had conquered more territory than they had taken in the previous century. Through it all, humanity remained safely within their own borders. Human colonies expanded freely without council restrictions. Trade between human worlds flourished. New settlements were established on previously forbidden planets. The contrast was stark. While alien civilizations collapsed into chaos, human space experienced its greatest period of growth and prosperity in decades. The withdrawal from the Council had not weakened humanity. It had set them free to reach their full potential. Council, Leader Vextar, hiding in a bunker on the Zephyrian homeworld, finally understood the magnitude of their mistake. The humans had never needed the Council's protection or guidance. The Council had needed theirs. But by the time he realized this, it was already too late to fix what they had broken. 2 months had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Council. The situation had become so bad that most alien species were fighting just to survive. The proud civilizations that had once ruled the galaxy were now refugees in their own space. The Raider clans controlled almost half of what used to be Council territory. Their black ships moved freely through space, taking whatever they wanted and destroying the rest. The aliens who had once looked down on humans now lived in constant fear of the next attack. Admiral Kextul of the Zephyrian Navy stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching enemy ships destroy another one of his colonies. His once mighty fleet had been reduced to less than half its original size. Ships broke down faster than they could be repaired, and his officers no longer knew how to fight without human tactical support. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the defense of Zephyr 7 has failed. The colony is lost." Kextul closed his 4 eyes in defeat. Zephyr 7 had been home to 12 million civilians. The Raiders would either kill them or sell them, as slaves to the criminal organizations that thrived in the dark corners of the galaxy. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked quietly. 43 vessels still capable of combat, sir, but only half of those have functioning weapon systems." The Admiral had commanded fleets for 30 years. He had won battles against pirates, rebels, and enemy empires. But he had never faced an enemy while his own technology was falling apart around him. Every victory had depended on human engineering and human tactical doctrine. The Council tried one last desperate attempt to create their own defense force. They gathered ships from 8 different species and put them under unified command. The new Galactic Defense Fleet launched with great ceremony, determined to prove they could succeed without human help. The fleet lasted exactly 1 battle. The Raiders ambushed them near the neutral zone, using tactics they had learned from studying human military manuals. Without human coordination systems, the alien ships could not work together effectively. They fired on each other by mistake, broke formation at the first sign of trouble, and fled in panic when their commanders were killed. The disaster was complete. In 3 hours, the Council lost more ships than humanity had lost in 5 years of fighting. The surviving vessels limped back to friendly space with news that made every alien leader understand the truth they had tried to ignore. They were helpless without human protection. The Villani Collective made the next desperate move. They sent their most powerful mine ship to human space, intending to force the colonists of New Sydney to submit to Villani control. The ship's crew believed their mental powers could overcome any defense. They were wrong. Governor Rick Mason had been expecting another Villani attack ever since the first attempt failed. His colony's psionic shields were ready and waiting when the alien ship arrived. The Villani tried their strongest mental assault, pouring all their psychic energy into breaking human resistance. The shields held easily. Then they did something. the Villani had never experienced before. They turned the mental attack back on its source with twice the original power. The Villani mine ship went silent immediately. When human patrol vessels boarded it hours later, they found the entire crew in deep comas. The aliens were alive, but their minds had been completely shattered by their own reflected attack. News of the Villani defeat spread quickly through alien space. Every species realized that humanity had not just left the Council, they had been preparing for war against them. The humans had secretly developed weapons and defenses designed specifically to counter every alien ability. The Korthak Empire tried a different approach. They offered humanity exclusive mining rights to their richest asteroids in exchange for military protection. The message was delivered by war speaker Duncath himself, who traveled to the edge of human space in a single, unarmed ship. Ambassador Morrison received the Korthak leader in a meeting room on the human station at the border. Duncath, who had once supported the resolution to strip humans of their rights, now sat across from Morrison like a beggar asking for charity. "The Korthak Empire offers you our most valuable territories," Duncath said, his voice shaking with desperation. "All we ask is that you protect our people from the raiders." Morrison's response was calm and cold. "The Korthak Empire supported our removal from the Council. You called us too aggressive for civilized society. We are simply respecting your judgment by keeping our aggression away from your people." The Mercantile Guild tried offering massive bribes to human trading companies. Guildmaster Toxhan authorized payments worth trillions of credits, enough to buy entire star systems. But human businesses refused every offer. "Money cannot buy back trust," CEO Johnson explained to the alien representatives. "You had our partnership and threw it away. Some things cannot be purchased once they are lost." The medical crisis reached its peak when the last human-made medical supplies ran out. Across alien space, hospitals that had once performed miracles became houses of death. The Mendi healing centers sat empty and useless without the synthetic compounds that made them work. Healer Prime Yilsen made a final, desperate plea to Dr. Martinez of the Terran Medical Corps. She offered to give humanity complete access to Mendi biological secrets, including the formula for immortality treatments that the Mendi had guarded for centuries. Dr. Martinez's reply came within hours. The Council decided that human medical contributions were merely minimum participation. The Mendi are welcome to seek help from species that consider you their equals. The breaking point came when the raiders attacked the Zephyrian homeworld itself. The planet's orbital defenses, which had protected the world for 1,000 years, failed within minutes. The human-designed targeting computers could not be repaired or replaced, leaving the massive defense platforms blind and helpless. Zephyrian cities burned as raider ships landed and began looting everything valuable. Millions of civilians fled to underground shelters while their government tried to negotiate surrender terms with the criminal fleets. Council leader Vextar, hiding in a bunker deep beneath the planetary capital, finally accepted what every other alien leader already knew. The Galactic Council was finished. The civilization that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was collapsing because they had driven away the only species capable of holding it together. In desperation, Vextar authorized a galaxy-wide broadcast offering humanity complete control of the Council in exchange for their return. He promised to give humans unlimited voting power, exclusive territorial rights, and tribute from every surviving alien species. The broadcast was received throughout human space and ignored completely. President Carter did not even bother to reply. The time for negotiation had passed when the aliens chose to treat humanity as inferior. Meanwhile, human colonies continued to thrive. New settlements were established every week on planets that had been forbidden under Council law. Human mining operations expanded freely, discovering resources that dwarfed anything the aliens had ever found. Trade between human worlds reached levels that made the old galactic economy look primitive. Captain Bradley's mining operation on Kepler 442b had grown into the largest industrial complex in known space. Free from Council restrictions, his workers had built facilities that produced more advanced technology in a month than most alien civilizations created in a year. It's amazing what humans can accomplish when we're not being held back, he told his supervisors during their weekly meeting. We've been operating at half capacity for years, just to make the aliens feel better about themselves. The final humiliation came when several alien species began approaching individual human colonies, offering to become protectorates under human protection. They promised to serve humanity faithfully if the humans would just save them from the raiders and chaos. The requests were politely declined. Humanity had no interest in ruling over species that had proven themselves unworthy of trust. The aliens had chosen to be enemies when they could have remained friends. As the second month ended, the galaxy looked completely different than it had when the humans withdrew. The great alien empires were gone, replaced by raider kingdoms and refugee camps. The proud species that had once claimed superiority now begged for help from the humans they had rejected. But humanity was no longer listening. They had learned a hard lesson about the price of trying to be partners with those who saw them as inferiors. The galaxy would have to find its own way back from the chaos. The humans had more important things to do than clean up someone else's mistakes. 3 months after humanity walked out of the Galactic Council, the old order was completely dead. The mighty alien empires that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years existed only in history books. In their place, a new civilization was slowly being born from the ashes of the old. The raider clans controlled most of the former council territory, but they had made one critical mistake. Drunk on their easy victories over helpless aliens, they decided to test themselves against human defenses. A massive raider fleet gathered in the darkness between stars, preparing to attack the human colony of Frontier's Edge. Admiral Ryan Tucker received the intelligence reports in his command center on Earth. The enemy fleet contained over 200 ships, many of them captured alien vessels equipped with stolen technology. It was the largest pirate force ever assembled in galactic history. "Should we send reinforcements to Frontier's Edge?" asked General Lisa Barnes, who had been promoted to head all colonial defense forces. Admiral Tucker shook his head. "Captain, Bradley and his people can handle this. It's time the galaxy learned what human military power really looks like when we stop holding back." The raider fleet emerged from hyperspace expecting to find a defenseless mining colony. Instead, they found a fortress world that had been secretly prepared for exactly this kind of attack. Orbital defense platforms powered by quantum reactors opened fire immediately. The weapons used technology that was 50 years ahead of anything the raiders had ever seen. The battle lasted less than 2 hours. When it ended, the entire raider fleet had been destroyed without a single human casualty. The pirates who had terrorized the galaxy for months were wiped out by weapons they could not even understand. Raider Commander Vakshin's final message was broadcast across the galaxy before his flagship exploded. "The humans were never weak," he gasped into his communicator. "They were just being kind." News of the raider defeat spread quickly through what remained of alien civilization. Species that had survived the chaos suddenly realized that humanity had allowed the raiders to rampage through alien space, while keeping their own territory completely safe. The humans could have stopped the destruction at any time. They simply chose not to. The first delegation arrived at human space 3 days after the battle. Admiral Kextel of the Zephyrian Navy came in a single ship with a white flag of surrender. His once proud uniform was torn and dirty, and his 4 eyes showed the exhaustion of someone who had lost everything. Captain Bradley, now promoted to Planetary Administrator of Frontier's Edge, received the alien officer in his office. The room's walls displayed images of the destroyed raider fleet, a not-so-subtle reminder of what happened to those who threatened human interests. "Administrator Bradley," Kextel began, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Zephyrian remnant requests permission to settle in human space. We offer our complete technological knowledge and our service in exchange for protection." Bradley studied the defeated alien for a long moment. "The Zephyrian Empire once claimed to be superior to humanity. Your people supported our removal from the Council. Why should we trust you now?" "Because we were wrong," Kextel replied, lowering his head in shame. "We thought we were advanced, but we were only copying human innovations. We thought we were strong, but we were only borrowing human strength. We have nothing left to offer except our honesty about our failures. Bradley's decision reflected the new human philosophy. We don't want servants or subjects. If you wish to live in human space, you will do so as equals. But understand this, there are no superior species here. Everyone is judged by what they contribute, not by what they claim to be. The Zephyrian admiral nodded gratefully. His people would survive, but they would do so as ordinary citizens of a human-led civilization, not as the masters they had once believed themselves to be. The Mendi healer caste arrived next, led by healer Prime Yilsen. The medical crisis had nearly destroyed her species, and the survivors were desperate for any chance to practice their healing arts again. Dr. Sarah Martinez met them at the medical station orbiting New Geneva. The human facility was clean, efficient, and filled with technology that made alien hospitals look primitive by comparison. Dr. Martinez, Yilsen said formally, we request permission to work in human medical facilities. We offer our biological knowledge freely, with no conditions or restrictions. Your knowledge will be welcomed, Dr. Martinez replied. But under human medical ethics and human administration, the days of alien species claiming special privileges because of their supposed superiority are over. The integration was not easy. The Mendi had to learn that human patients would be treated with the same care as alien ones, that medical decisions would be based on need rather than species, and that their healing abilities would be used to serve all people equally. But it worked. Within weeks, the combined human Mendi medical centers were performing miracles that neither species could have achieved alone. The Mendi provided biological expertise while humans supplied technological innovation and ethical guidance. The Korthak survivors made the most dramatic gesture of all. War Speaker Dunkath arrived at Earth itself, carrying the formal dissolution papers of the Korthak Empire. The document officially ended a government that had existed for over 2,000 years. President Carter received him in the same room where the Terran Senate had voted to support the withdrawal from the Council. The symbolism was intentional and powerful. President Carter, Dunkath said, placing the dissolution papers on the table. The Korthak people request incorporation into human civilization as ordinary citizens. We renounce all claims to special status or imperial authority. The individual Korthak people are welcome, Carter replied carefully, but they will start as immigrants like anyone else. They must earn citizenship through contribution and service, not through their species or former rank. It was a complete reversal of the old galactic order. The Korthaks, who had once considered humans too aggressive for civilized society, now begged to become part of human civilization. The Villani collective faced a different choice. Their homeworld was dying, their collective consciousness was broken, and their survivors were scattered across refugee camps. Thought Weaver Zin, her mental powers weakened by the psychic feedback from their attacks on human colonies, made a final plea. We were wrong to believe in Villani superiority, she admitted to President Carter during a video conference. Our collective consciousness made us arrogant and blind to truth. We request permission to send our children to human schools, so they might learn to think as individuals rather than as part of a collective. It was the most fundamental change any species had ever requested. The Villani were asking humanity to help them stop being Villani and become something new. The request was granted, but with strict conditions. Adult Villani who could not give up their collective mentality would be housed in special facilities where their mental powers could not affect others. Their children would be raised in human communities, learning human values of individual worth and personal responsibility. Within a year, the galaxy was completely transformed. The new Terran Commonwealth included 14 former alien species, as equal citizens. The capital was established on New Harmony, a human colony world that became a symbol of the new order. The Commonwealth's founding document was simple but revolutionary. No species shall be considered superior to another. All citizens contribute according to their abilities and receive according to their needs. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation has begun. Ambassador Morrison, now Secretary of Galactic Affairs, presented the final report on the old Council's collapse. The withdrawal had exposed the fundamental weakness of the previous system. It had been built on assumptions of human inferiority and alien superiority. "We never sought to rule," President Carter said during the Commonwealth's first assembly. "We sought to be treated as equals. When that was denied, we chose to demonstrate our worth through our actions rather than our words." The new assembly chamber looked very different from the old council hall. Representatives from 37 species sat together as equals with no special seating or privileged positions. Humans held leadership roles not because of their species, but because they had proven their ability to lead wisely and fairly. The final image was of children playing together in a Commonwealth school. Human, Zephyrian, Mendi, and former Korthak youngsters worked on science projects side by side. They were learning that cooperation was stronger than competition, that diversity was more valuable than uniformity, and that respect had to be earned rather than demanded. The galaxy had learned its lesson. The species that had once dismissed humanity as too emotional and aggressive now looked to humans for leadership. The age of alien supremacy was over. The age of true equality had begun, and it all started when humanity simply walked away from those who did not value them.